Our chalice lighting this morning comes from the writings of Pema Chodron. Instead of transcending the suffering of all creatures, we move towards the turbulence and doubt. We jump into it, we slide into it, we tiptoe into it. We move toward it however we can. If it takes years, if it takes lifetimes, we let it be as it is. At our own pace, without speed or aggression, we move down and down and down. At the bottom, we discover water, the healing water of bodhicitta, or enlightenment. We discover the love that will not die. Maybe so.
Blessed Spirit of my life, give me strength through stress and strife. Help me live with dignity. Let me know serenity. Fill me with a vision. Clear my mind of fear and confusion. When my thoughts flow restlessly, let peace find a home in me. Spirit of great mystery, hear the still small voice in me. Help me live my wordless creed as I comfort those in need. Fill me with compassion, be the source of my intuition. Then when life is done for me, let love be my legacy. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Fuente de amor, ven hacia mí. Ya corazón, cántale tu compasión. Sopla volar, sube en la mar, hasta modear la justicia de la vida. Arraigame, libérame, fuente de amor, ven a mí, ven a mí.
You may not come away from this message today feeling very good about Unitarian Universalism. And also, I want to offer a trigger warning that in this message I speak about sexual violence, cancer, and gun violence. I do hope, however, that you will come away with important questions about your faith. You see, I'm in a place right now where it is admittedly very difficult for me to feel good about this tradition which I've chosen, in which I've invested over $100,000 in my education and probably an equal number of hours. It's a place where I'm asked to be a champion and a defender, and a thinker, and someone who has drunk the Kool-Aid. But truth be told, I am not any of those things. Really, I'm just a guy who believes in people and who believes in the magic of existence, and that started long before I discovered Unitarian Universalism, and it will last well after the fact if I ever choose to leave. You may ask why it's difficult. Well, consider this. I have a regular and robust spiritual practice. I have a deep awareness of the need for self-care, and I know how and when to access it. Coming from a background in fitness and wellness, I know what I need to feed my body and what level of activity I require to be balanced. I literally do all the stuff, and still, in this current moment, I come up short with what my faith often wants to offer me. The public depiction of violence against black men feels like some kind of blood sport. Certainly, black men are not the only ones killed by police and gun violence, and plenty of police, sadly, die in the line of duty. But being police is a job, one that I would like to see entirely redefined, and being black is neither a choice nor something with a union and a salary, and the proportion of black men killed to the proportion of society they represent reveals a sickening likelihood that black people are 3 times more likely to be killed by police than whites. The media is trying to do its part to make sure we all are aware of this as an epidemic on its own, yet it comes at a price for those of us who share black bodies, either our own or those we are intimate with. We are traumatized by the images. It feels like every 6 weeks or so we're having to process the orgy of emotion and imagery that accompanies what can only be called state-sanctioned lynching. It's as if lynching was taken out of the hands of vigilantes and placed into the hands of law enforcement. If you want to have a place where you are protected by law to exterminate all the black folks you want, then just pick up a badge. Laws will protect you. No one is going to challenge you. Everyone will believe you when you say, "I am not a racist," and cries of "Blue Lives Matter" will support you all the way out of the courthouse and into your early retirement with full pension. But my message today is not about policing. My message today is about a lopsided Unitarian Universalist response to the violence that too often has little, if anything, to answer the real, day-to-day human challenges we face as a society. I've got to ask, are we hiding behind faith in action because we aren't willing to hold on to faith in our hearts and lives? You can make all the calls you want, march in all the streets you want, you all the votes you want, and side with love all you want, but where the hell is all that when someone is awake in the middle of the night because they're terrified that they will be assaulted again? What does all that do when your loved one loses their battle with cancer? And what does Unitarian Universalism say to a man who, despite his own deep flaws, yes, is laying paralyzed from the waist down with half of his digestive tract blown to pieces because a cop got nervous? And then, what does our uneven faith say to the cop who pulled the trigger, or placed the chokehold, or broke down the door? What is the message of redemption? What is the call to healing, both body and soul? Too often, it feels like Unitarian Universalism is just arrogant public relations born of privilege and the word should. The tenets of liberal religion are about the freedom to interpret faith as one sees fit. Historically, we learn that Unitarians place emphasis on the ultimate role of reason in interpreting scriptures, and thus freedom of conscience and freedom of the pulpit are core values in the tradition. In modern parlance, that adds up to our 7 principles: the inherent worth and dignity of every person, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, the right of conscience, and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. The goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. And we are considering an 8th principle as well. We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. But personally, I'm missing something in all of this. I miss the gravity of life. And I've said it before, where is the love? To get personal for a moment, having been faced with a literal lifetime of justifying my presence in schools, jobs, apartment buildings, stores, you name it, I'm not really compelled to first think about justice, equity, and bloody compassion in human relations. When I look at a federal government that systemically dismantles voting rights and women's rights to their bodies in ways that uniquely impact people of color, I don't have a lot of faith in the right of conscience and democratic processes. More and more, I'm aware that an underlying weakness in Unitarian Universalism comes from 3 words: autonomy, reason, and conscience. And it's because too often these words are preceded by three other words: me, myself, and I. My autonomy, my reason, my conscience. My God, we've got to do better. Unitarian Universalism must mature. If we are going to come through especially difficult and tragic times, and we're in those times right now, we've got to get out of our own super smart, I've got the answers, me first way. The real freedom in liberal religion cannot solely be about me, myself, and I. The real freedom is based on how we are non-creedal and that we non-coercively agree to covenant as opposed to passively following doctrine. We are free to dig deep into that which sustains the universal human experience. We have in Unitarian Universalism a powerful excuse to humble ourselves not to the false god of me, myself, and I, but to the reality that is wrapped in one word: we. It is we that comes from all kinds of different human, spiritual, and life experience. It is we that sustains us. Certainly, our efforts to engage a diverse experience is no excuse for the spiritual buffet, affecting one tradition as the mood strikes us. Rather, it is the opportunity to learn more about universal truths reflected in those traditions and those experiences. We can learn from Buddhism about a path from suffering, to let Taoism help us understand what it means to be in sync with the universe, to listen to Judaism for what it means to be in a unique relationship with the divine, to recognize how Islam speaks to the human need for both peace and submission, as well as humility, and to let Christianity remind us that, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Indeed, you are not alone. As Unitarian Universalists, we can dig deep, not by sampling from the platter, but by holding the platter, accessible to everyone, and cherishing what it means for all of us inside and outside of our traditions and social locations to be able to taste the full fruits of humanity. This is universalism on steroids. And holding the platter also means that we will feel its weight when tragedy comes. We will burn with its heat when it carries rage, and we will be chilled to the core by its sudden loss of temperature and death. Being entrusted to hold this platter of faith, humanity, and being is our most compelling reason to feel and feel deeply. Holding the platter is not about I. It is about we. Does Unitarian Universalism alone answer my needs for resilience? Not so much. In all honesty, it may never do so. But Unitarian Universalism does invite me to find resilience wherever and however it is I need to find it, and it lets me do that without shame or judgment or condition. This freedom of liberal religion, to me, is the divine, and it may ultimately be what keeps me in this faith. Blessed be, and amen.